Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
And away we go, episode 1397 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Thursday, August 27th, 2026. 1 month from today is the Washington Commanders' third game in the NFL's 2026 regular season. Washington home to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday afternoon, September 27th at 1. What will our team's record upon the completion of that game be? Washington's 2026 regular season opener is at the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday afternoon, September 13th at 4:25. Then comes a game at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday afternoon, September 20th at 4:25. And then comes this home game against the reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks. Quite the first 3 games for our team, and they now perhaps seem especially daunting of what happened on Wednesday. Hello and welcome to this Thursday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Washington's joint practice at the Baltimore Ravens on Wednesday did not go well. The offense was really bad, especially the offensive line, especially at center, although the line was without multiple key players. But still, what went down with the offense in this joint practice was not good. Washington's defense did do some good things, but this joint practice, a far cry from Washington's impressive performance in the joint practice with the visiting Miami Dolphins on August 12th. Next segment, discussion of Washington signing unrestricted free agent offensive tackle DJ Humphries and an in-depth breakdown of what the heck went down for Washington in this joint practice at Baltimore, including the continued struggles for Washington at center. Quarterback Jayden Daniels did a post-practice press conference on Wednesday afternoon, did not shy away from the offense having had a rough day. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats, they lost for the 20th time in 27 games, a 13-1 loss to the Colorado Rockies at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening. The O's, they won for the 4th time in 5 games, an 8-7 win at the St. Louis Cardinals on Wednesday night, despite the O's blowing a 7-0 second-inning lead. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You can reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. Email from Philip on the Jayden Daniels LSU situation, which doesn't seem like such a big deal off what happened in the joint practice at Baltimore on Wednesday. But writes Philip, I recently was in Myrtle Beach for a baseball tournament with my 14-year-old son. The teams were assembled with kids from different parts of the country. While his team was hitting in the cage one morning, I overheard the kids, my son excluded, cracking jokes about stopping at the 4th inning, stopping at 4 runs, etc., out of respect for Jayden Daniels. This is how much of a pop culture thing this has become. Kids who probably don't feel one way or another about Jayden are piling on. I hope his team, his mom, learns from this. I live in Giants country these days and have been hearing that Jayden's the next RG3 for 2 years. This only fuels that narrative. The whole thing feels very Snyder era-ish. Thank you for the email, Philip. I still am amazed at how enormous the criticism and mocking of Jayden Daniels for the LSU situation got. Now, the criticism and mocking have died down as the story has died down, and hopefully we're done with the story. Although the final exchange of the Jayden Daniels post-practice press conference on Wednesday afternoon was this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Daniels.
Jayden, I know you addressed this in an Instagram statement, and you want to keep the focus on football. This is the first time many of us have talked to you. Are you able to say why you decided to file the cease and desist?
I posted a statement on Instagram, and it said everything I needed to say. So appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jayden.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, so basically a no comment from Jayden Daniels on his situation with LSU. But yeah, he took a pounding for that situation. And the pounding, of course, stood out in such contrast to him having been so well regarded. Hopefully, he and his business team, including his mom, who is his agent and business manager, learned from this situation. The dispute with LSU, to whatever extent the dispute is justified, should have remained a behind-the-scenes matter. Going public with a tone-deaf statement was so bad. The statement that the Jayden Daniels spokesperson gave to ESPN for the initial report on the situation, big-time misstep. The report was by ESPN college football insider Mark Schlabach, came out late night on Wednesday night, August 12th. The statement from the spokesperson, quote, "The Daniels family is deeply disappointed and feels profoundly disrespected by LSU's decision to give Jayden's number to another player. Jayden and his family had every reason to believe that his number would remain a meaningful part of his LSU legacy and would be honored and protected in recognition of his extraordinary contributions to the university," end quote. I mean, that is a delusional, off-putting statement. Who wrote that statement? I'd love to know the answer to that question. But I still come back to the basis of the dispute, the insistence that the LSU football program retire the number 5 in honor of Jayden Daniels. That's just not a good look for Jayden Daniels. That makes him look egotistical. That makes him look way too concerned about his image. And, you know, what we know about Jayden Daniels, he isn't egotistical and he isn't way too concerned about his image. You know, I've been saying this. This is not the Jayden Daniels who we know, and that's why I really wonder if this is a situation in which he has not had much actual involvement and or has gotten some overly aggressive / bad advice. And if so, then the person / people who gave him the advice need to be better moving forward, or maybe need to be gone. Maybe Jayden Daniels needs to clean house when it comes to his business team. But of course, his business team includes his mom, Regina Jackson. We don't know to what extent she is behind what has happened here with LSU, but we do know that she's probably not going to be gone, okay? So in her case, it's like, well, to whatever extent she needs to have learned from this, she needs to learn from this. And, you know, you think about the bigger picture. We're just a little more than 4 months away from Jayden Daniels becoming contract extension eligible. If Regina Jackson is responsible for this debacle with LSU, and we don't know that she is, but if she is, will she be better for her son regarding contract extension negotiations with the Washington Commanders, or are those contract extension negotiations going to turn into a public relations mess for Daniels? Is the Jayden Daniels spokesperson going to be putting out tone-deaf statements if Washington general manager Adam Peters doesn't immediately offer Regina Jackson exactly what she wants for her son? You know, the contract extension negotiations between Washington and Jayden Daniels this coming offseason may be the single most important and most high-profile contract extension negotiations in Washington, D.C. area sports history. Like, that's not hyperbole. How is Jayden Daniels' business team going to handle these negotiations? This now has become a question, but we have a ways to go until we get to those negotiations. In the meantime, we have to worry about Washington's offensive line and what happens with our team in its 2026 regular season. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. So we on Wednesday had the final full practice of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. The practice took place not at the home of the team's training camp. The team facility, what officially is Big Bear.ai Performance Center at Commanders Park in Ashburn, Virginia. No, the practice on Wednesday was a joint practice at the Baltimore Ravens. So the practice took place at the Ravens team facility, what officially is Under Armour Performance Center in Owings Mills, Maryland. The nickname for that facility, by the way, is the Castle, because it looks like a castle. Is very impressive. The joint practice for Washington at Baltimore on Wednesday started around 10:30 a.m., lasted for about 2 hours, and we on Friday have a preseason game for the Commanders and Ravens at the Ravens M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. The game is on Friday evening at 6, is each team's final game in the NFL's 2026 preseason, and then we have the cut down to 53 for each NFL team, as Sunday at 6 p.m. is the deadline by which each NFL team must have its active roster at no more than 53 players. This joint practice for Washington at Baltimore on Wednesday was Washington's second joint practice of this training camp. The first was with the visiting Miami Dolphins on August 12th, and then 2 days later we had Washington's preseason opening 27 win over Miami at Northwest Stadium on August 14th. But before this joint practice for Washington at Baltimore on Wednesday started, Washington on Wednesday morning announced having signed unrestricted free agent offensive tackle DJ Humphries. Some offensive line depth by a guy who's well known. The 2026 season would be Humphries' age 33 season. Humphries was taken by the Arizona Cardinals with the number 24 overall pick in the 2015 NFL draft out of the University of Florida. Humphries was with the Arizona Cardinals for the 2015 through 2023 seasons, played for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2024 season, and played for the Los Angeles Rams in the 2025 season. Now, the story of DJ Humphries with the Cardinals is interesting. He was looking like a massive bust. He was inactive for every game of his rookie season. Yeah, he was inactive for every game of his rookie season. The Cardinals benched Humphries for his entire rookie season, despite having taken him with the number 24 overall pick in the 2015 NFL draft. The Cardinals head coach at the time, Bruce Arians, he called DJ Humphries, quote, knee deep, end quote, because according to Arians, a foot in the backside of Humphries wasn't enough to keep him motivated. You needed to use a knee. Knee deep. How great is that nickname? But DJ Humphries did mature. He was the Cardinals starting right tackle for the 2016 season and was the Cardinals starting left tackle for the 2017 through 2023 seasons. He became a good left tackle, and as you may recall, there was talk that Washington might sign Humphries during Cliff Kingsbury's 2 seasons as the team's offensive coordinator, February 2024 to January 2026. Kingsbury, of course, was the Cardinals head coach, January 2019 to January 2023. But Washington has ended up signing Humphries months after parting with Kingsbury. Humphries, over the 2024 and 2025 regular seasons, played in just 10 games, including just 3 starts. He's not the player he once was. Let's make that clear. Head coach Dan Quinn did a pre-practice press conference on Wednesday morning. We, during the presser, had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
You guys added DJ Humphries. Why do you want to bring him?
Yeah, so DJ's somebody that we've stayed connected with over the last couple of years, and so came in yesterday for a workout, looked good, and then we'll give him a chance to get rolling a little bit today, and then a little bit as we get into Friday. And just the depth at tackle made sense to have him come in, proven player and a good player, and so we're looking forward to having him here.
So Dan Quinn making it clear that DJ Humphries is a depth piece. And so if you have any thoughts that Washington signing Humphries means anything negative for Brandon Coleman, think again. The team very much is standing by Coleman as its starting left tackle, with the team's number 1 left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, expected to miss at least a significant portion of the 2026 regular season due to a torn triceps that he suffered during training camp practice on August 8th. We on Wednesday morning had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Dan Quinn.
Sorry to DJ again, but you talked about him being depth. Is there any thought that could precipitate a change for Brandon Coleman at all?
No.
So how about that? Our friend Mitch Tischler asked Dan Quinn if Washington having signed DJ Humphries might mean change for Brandon Coleman, and Quinn, who rarely gives a super short answer, gave a one-word answer: no.
Sorry to DJ again, but you talked about him being depth. Is there any thought that could precipitate a change for Brandon Coleman at all?
No.
That cracked me up. No. Get out of here with that, Mitch. No. Dan Quinn showing full support for Brandon Coleman as Washington's starting left tackle. I view DJ Humphries kind of like George Fant. Remember him? Washington on August 19th, 2025 announced having signed unrestricted free agent offensive tackle George Fant, a veteran offensive tackle like DJ Humphries, a well-known offensive tackle like DJ Humphries, but George Fant barely played for Washington last regular season. He was a depth piece in much the same way that DJ Humphries is being viewed as a depth piece, although it is more than possible that DJ Humphries ends up being a more significant depth piece for Washington than George Fant was, because it is conceivable that DJ Humphries becomes Washington's swing tackle. This is something now to wonder, who is Washington's swing tackle? Is that person DJ Humphries or Andrew Wiley? Andrew Wiley, not a name we've heard much during this training camp and preseason. Wiley can play tackle and guard. Washington also has tackle/guard Trent Scott. We on Wednesday morning had this exchange between columnist David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
With Humphries here, is there any thought to either Scott or Wiley being more inside guard going forward?
It'd probably be Scott. Wiley, we've played him inside some. He's got, so many reps at right tackle. That's where he's most comfortable. So for the last couple weeks, we played him at left just to force it. And what a good competitor. He was the one, I want all the left. And so he'll play more on the right today. But we see for him at the tackle spot, and Trent, more on the inside spaces. So, and then we'll take a good look at DJ today. Some in the game, some with him not having, an off season. We're not going to go, crazy right off the bat with him. We're going to be smart, see where he's at, and make sure we do it right.
Washington this past March 3rd announced having signed Andrew Wiley to a contract extension. Washington this past March 13th announced having re-signed Trent Scott as an unrestricted free agent. Much more on the Washington Commanders in moments, but if you need to step up your wardrobe, just as our team needs to step up its situation at center, get your wardrobe ready for fall with great clothes from Quince. Go to quince.com/Galdi. Quince is all about fewer, better pieces. So Quince's clothes are made with premium materials built to last and designed to become the ones that you reach for day after day. I've been telling you about my sand dune colored cotton chino drawstring shorts from Quince, but I'm also looking forward to busting out my Quince blue wool pullover. It's not yet time for the pullover, but the pullover is ready to go, unlike Washington's offensive line. But clothes from Quince become your go-to items. Quince specializes in everyday staples that work harder, like Quince's ultra-soft organic cotton tees and premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're versatile, timeless, and transition seamlessly from a casual workday to dinner out. If you're still hanging on to the same worn-out basics, Quince makes it easy to upgrade. Quince has premium denim and tailored chinos from just $60 with the kind of perfect fit, structure, and high-quality fabrics you'd expect from a luxury designer brand. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Galdi. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Taking care of the people you love, nothing matters more. Get peace of mind with life insurance through Ethos. Ethos helps to provide financial security for your family. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 5,500 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/AlGaldi. That's ethos.com/AlGaldi. Ethos.com/AlGaldi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of August 1st, 2026.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Well, we with the Washington Commanders offensive line, of course, have concerns. The LT1, Laramie Tunsil, is out due to the torn triceps. And then there is the situation at center. The favorite to be the starting center, Nick Allegretti. He suffered a calf strain during training camp practice on July 29th. What was the team's first practice of 2026 training camp, returned to practicing on August 18th, but he then aggravated the calf during practice on August 19th. The team's backup center to Allegretti in training camp and the preseason had been Julian Good-Jones, but he really struggled, including in the 17-13 preseason loss at the Detroit Lions this past Saturday afternoon. This past Saturday afternoon did feel like a breaking point for Julian Good-Jones as Washington's number 2 center, especially with head coach Dan Quinn during his postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon saying, quote, "We got work to do to figure out, where we want to get to at center," end quote. And then Quinn, during a pre-practice press conference this past Monday afternoon, announced that the team this week would be working Matt Golban exclusively at center, off him having been working at guard a good bit. Another injury concern for Washington is at cornerback. When will Trey Amos be healthy? He was on the active/physically unable to perform list from July 25th until August 7th, as he was dealing with soft tissue soreness off the fractured fibula that he suffered in Washington's 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium this past November 9th. And Amos, the day after coming off the active/physically unable to perform list, so August 8th, suffered an ankle injury in training camp practice, and he remains out. We on Wednesday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
And you talked about the injuries to some of these guys, whether or not they're here for the regular season. It sounds like there's optimism and all that, and other guys are getting a chance, etc. But what's the level of, I don't know, about concern, or what's the impact of them missing multiple weeks at this time of the year?
Yeah, for sure. Concern, John, like no doubt about it. It's not ideal when you have, missing any time. Just like it would be in the season, I'd be concerned that, boy, if this had only happened in training camp. So it sucks no matter when it happens. But for all the players, we've had a good training camp, a lot of reps, a lot of situations. And so with the exception of Nick, he probably had the least of that, and Trey, the other guys had a good bulk, whether they're out or not. So definitely concerned, just like, don't like it. And I want to always see the work to make sure their readiness is there. But I'll assess where it is into next week and then have a better view. Are they ready at the beginning, or is it, forward from there? But too early to call. But yeah, there's a concern. But, kind of control the things we can and go the best from there.
A lot of missed time for Nick Allegretti and Trey Amos in this 2026 training camp and in this 2026 preseason. More on the situations at center and cornerback, given the situations with Nick Allegretti and Trey Amos. We on Wednesday morning had this back and forth between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
How much will today's practice sway what direction you go with the center position?
It's important. I would say it's definitely part of the evaluation, Nikki, ongoing. So we'll get Matt some good work at that today. Julian will work some at the guard today. So in the previous week, we kind of flip-flop that. And so this week, we'll kind of flip-flop it again, where Julian will play into some guard today and Matt will work mostly at center. So definitely a part of it for sure. And we want to give Matt a look and see what that looks like. Julian's had a good bit of reps, so far. So we'll flip a little bit of that today. And then as we get through tonight, we'll kind of plan in for the game and what that looks like.
And then with at cornerback, with Trey being out most of camp,
right.
Rizul coming in fairly late, what have you seen from him just in picking up the system and everything?
Yeah, two good veterans that we picked up is Rasul and Fabian. I felt their experience first, Nikki. They have awareness, they have feel. Fabian had some time with Durante, so maybe that came quicker, but early on, Rasul, without the spring, right at the start of it, man, he was able to just play quickly. Yep, I know that. So he's been one that I've been impressed by. I've watched him play, and so when I had chances to visit with him, we had talked about things that he had done in the past and systems. So he grew up not far from where I did in New Jersey, and so we had some early connection. But just seeing him get into the system, I've been impressed by that. You've seen different guys work inside. You'll see some of that Amik today. You've seen Mikey in there. So there's still some, not posturing, but movements to back and forth to go. And I think that's a good plan by us as you're in this time of camp. Okay, end this. What are the roles? Who's the backup into this spot? And so although they may have not had a lot of experience at some of the spots, it's still really valuable to do it now.
Yeah, Fabian Moreau, Washington on August 4th announced having signed unrestricted free agent cornerback and former Washington Redskins cornerback Fabian Moreau. Seemed like maybe a training camp / preseason signing, but nothing more. But who knows? Maybe he does make the team's initial 53-man roster for the season. Keep in mind, and we heard Dan Quinn allude to this, Moreau spent the 2024 and 2025 seasons playing for the Minnesota Vikings. So those were the final 2 seasons for Washington defensive coordinator Durante Jones is the Vikings defensive passing game coordinator / defensive backs coach. All right, so Washington's joint practice at Baltimore on Wednesday. You know, the tendency is to call an NFL team's 2nd to 3 games in a preseason the dress rehearsal for the regular season, right? But was it in fact the case that this joint practice was Washington's dress rehearsal for the 2026 regular season, considering that plenty of NFL teams these days are using joint practices for substantial work for starters / key players as opposed to using preseason games for substantial work for starters / key players? We on Wednesday morning had this back and forth between ABC 7 sports director Scott Abraham and Dan Quinn, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between WUSA 9 sports anchor Marshall Kramsky and Quinn.
Dan, what's considered a successful day today?
I think you want to see good execution, both sides. From our offensive side, this is a defense like ours that has pressure, brings it, and so run game on movements and protection on the offensive side. So I want to see, clean operation in that way. On the defensive side, same thing. Can we generate pressure? Can we, be sudden and violent with our movements to go through it? So that's what I'm looking for. In a joint practice, the front 7 on both sides really get some of the very best work. And so like their style, how they play offensively and defensively. So excellent test for us. This is a good program. So we're pumped about it, but that's really what you're looking for.
And then Jayden specifically, only 3 preseason snaps in actual games. So how important is today for him?
He's thrown a lot of plays in practice already, and so it's an important day. It's a good day, for him to have new looks, new defenses, and anytime we can challenge him, like he's always up for it, to have different matchups, different defenses, different looks, it's valuable. And so it's valuable in that sense, the most. But this guy, he's ready to play football.
What's the most valuable thing you could get out of today as opposed to the preseason game on Friday?
I think it's honestly the comp that goes back and forth. You don't know who's going to be necessarily in the games in the preseason and the matchups. So in this one, you'll see one-on-ones, you'll see matchups, you'll see more offense and defense than you would in a regular preseason game. So it gets heightened in that way of communication and checks and things. That's more on a communication level, similar to a regular season game versus a preseason game.
Okay, well, when it came to what actually happened during Washington's joint practice at Baltimore on Wednesday, let's start with Washington's offensive line. Right guard Samuel Cosmi, by the way, did not practice on Wednesday due to illness. So the line was without Laramie Tunsil, Nick Allegretti, and Sam Cosmi. Although Tunsil was in attendance at the practice, Laramie Tunsil, since getting injured, has been very visible and has been around the team a lot. Good for him. The talk of him being a strong leader does seem to be legit. During this joint practice had Matt Golbin getting a lot of work at center. But bottom line, Washington's offense in this joint practice was bad, especially the offensive line. From Nikki Javala on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, "The Commanders need a center badly, still, that is all," end quote. How about this from Nikki on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, "This is the worst I've ever seen the Commanders offense in years. Inoperable offensive line," end quote. That was something from our friend Nikki. From Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, "The Commanders' couldn't get much going during that 11-on-11 red zone drill. The run blocking was subpar, and the passing offense also couldn't get into a groove. The lowlight, Matt Golbin had an errant snap. Jayden Daniels recovered it and threw it right to Kyle Hamilton," end quote. Not good. I did not enjoy reading that. However, from Mitch Tischler on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, First rep of OL/DL one-on-ones, Brandon Coleman stones Trey Hendrickson and pushes him back out around the back of the QB, and quote, very nice. Although, also from Mitch on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, Ravens DL having some success against the middle and right side of the Commanders OL. Coleman looking very good. Paul was a bit up and down. The rest didn't have a lot of success, end quote. And also from Mitch on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, the Ravens defense has some elite playmakers. Back-to-back plays, Trey Hendrickson beats Brandon Coleman on the edge, and Kyle Hamilton flies off the other edge on an overload for a TFL, end quote. From Alex Flum of DC News Now on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, Commanders offense struggling versus Ravens D. Jayden picked off by Marlon Humphrey on pass for Chig, then had a pass batted down by a DL. The following play, Jayden pass on what I think was a slant, tipped and incomplete. Earlier, Robert Henry was stuffed and then fumbled, end quote. From columnist Josh Tolentino of the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, oh my, Trey Hendrickson, Travis Jones, and Trenton Simpson party in the backfield for a group sack on Jayden Daniels. Ravens sideline is going crazy. 4 of 5 plays this drive have resulted in no gain or TFL, end quote. Also from Josh Tolentino on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, Kyle Hamilton picks off Jayden Daniels in back of end zone during red zone 11 versus 11. Pass intended for tight end Chigakonkwo. Hamilton celebrates by shooting the ball over the field goal post and sticking his follow through for a second before going back to the huddle. Next play, Marlon Humphrey makes a diving PBU on in-breaking route. Ravens starting secondary is eating today, end quote. Well, I can keep going. From Commanders insider Candy Waller of Bowie TV Sports on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, the offensive plays that did look like they were going to work didn't due to drops by Commanders WRs and TEs, end quote. We did have this from Deshaun Reed on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, the Commanders offense ended practice on a high note. Daniels was pressured, but got the ball off and hit WR Antonio Williams in stride for a TD, end quote. Yes, that was a nice ending to the practice for Washington, but we got this from John Keim on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, Washington's offense struggled today, ended on a good note with a Daniels to Williams TD pass on 4th down, lofted up under heavy pressure. Williams open one-on-one TD, but ... the O has some work to do, end quote. Washington's offense in this joint practice at Baltimore on Wednesday got humbled. Big difference from what we saw in the joint practice with visiting Miami on August 12th. Remember what we talked about off that joint practice, right? Washington's QB1, Jayden Daniels, he torched Miami in that practice. He carved up the Dolphins in that practice. This joint practice at Baltimore, different story, and Daniels himself admitted to that. This was Jayden Daniels during a post-practice press conference on Wednesday afternoon, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between John Keim and Daniels, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between columnist Barry Zverluga of The Athletic and Daniels.
Baltimore, good players, well coached. Back and forth battle, not the best day that I thought we could have had. It's just from all around, from myself to everybody else. But these are opportunities that you get to learn from.
What is it that for yourself, what do you take away?
I would say you just got to play everything true. Own this, watch the tape. Take the coaching, be coachable to be able to move forward from this. The good thing about it, man, is August whatever. I don't know what day it is, but it's August whatever. Our first game is September 13th, so that's when it really matters. So this is an opportunity just to be around each other. We're out here for a couple of days. Be in the hotel with each other, bond, connect, and really just build that camaraderie, chemistry moving forward to the season.
And you've obviously got some flux on the offensive line, guys coming in and out. How's that been, and is it a little bit disruptive?
I got to do my job. At the end of the day, they have to do their job. So I never want to go out there and complain about X, Y, and Z. That's not me, because at the end of the day, I can control what I can control. And everybody in this organization, on this team, has a job to do. So who am I to go out there and try to do other people's job? My job is to come out here and get better as a football player, lead this team. So ultimately, when November, December, and those months come around, we can win football games.
Well, a good answer by Jayden Daniels right there. A quarterback, of course, should never throw his offensive line or any unit under the bus. But what especially stood out to me from all of that from Daniels was that he basically admitted that, the offense in this joint practice did not do well. And the offensive line right now has some problems. This was Daniels during his post-practice press conference on Wednesday afternoon on trying to establish chemistry with the center position. And then you'll hear a follow-up back and forth between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Daniels.
We do a good job throughout QB center exchange. I'm working with different guys when they come in, just that camaraderie and everything. I think more so just being on the same page, communicating. For me, whether that's knowing what we're pointing the same way, where they're going, do I have to flip a protection, run game, stuff like that, and really just breathing life into whoever's in there.
Jayden, last year when you didn't have Terry, you guys couldn't build on that chemistry. How is it different with the center because the basically haven't had Nick the whole time?
I'm out here with who's out here at the end of the day. Nick is on his way back. Julian, Matt, those guys are doing a tremendous job up front, just with the situation that they're in, to go out there and compete and put their best foot forward. So at the end of the day, I'm just doing my job.
But I guess how difficult is it to get that chemistry with that center, considering that's the one guy literally every play you're kind of
doing my job with the guys that I have, Matt and Julian. So I've been doing a great job. It's been like that for majority of the camp, so you don't see me complaining.
Now, Washington's defense in this joint practice at Baltimore on Wednesday was much better than Washington's offense was, and what especially stood out were the perspectives of people who cover the Ravens. From Ravens insider Jamison Hensley of ESPN on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, in joint practice versus Commanders, Ravens QB Lamar Jackson was 2 of 3 on full-team red zone, hitting Justice Hill over the middle for a TD. Jackson didn't have much time to throw. Pass protection was an issue, end quote. From Ravens insider Brian Wacker of the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday morning in a post on X, quote, Ravens first-team offense hasn't been sharp at all today. One example, Lamar just missed a wide-open Bateman on a sideline out, took too long to throw, and was offline, end quote. From Scott Abraham on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, Kinlaw with a great push up front to stop Henry in the backfield during 11-on-11s, end quote. From Tashawn Reed on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, in the final period of practice, Commanders CB Mikey Sainristil picks off Ravens QB Lamar Jackson, end quote. So good to read all of that regarding Washington's defense, although not all of the evaluations of Washington's defense in the joint practice were glowing. From Ben Standig on Wednesday afternoon in a post on X, quote, practice is over. That was ... not great. Commanders OL gave up pressure most plays. Defense didn't create much pressure around Lamar, who often has his choice of receivers, both sides missing starters on the line. Still ... end quote. Still, indeed. Notable Washington players who did not practice on Wednesday. Quarterback Marcus Mariota, running backs Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Jeremy McNichols, tight end Ben Sinnott, left tackle Laramie Tunsil, center Nick Allegretti, right guard Sam Cosmi, defensive tackles Daron Payne and Johnny Newton, outside linebackers Adafe Owe and Calebon Chason, inside linebacker Jordan McGee, and cornerback Trey Amos. In terms of players on Washington's active roster, a good number of notable players did not practice on Wednesday. All of those guys were out due to injury/illness. And specific to the offensive line, Laramie Tunsil out, Nick Allegretti out, Sam Cosmi out. The offensive line did not look good in this practice for sure, but let's have some perspective, okay? We had Matt Golbin and Julian Good-Jones at center and had Good-Jones and Tanoa Togiai at right guard. Yes, I said Tanoa Togiai at right guard. Tanoa Togiai, undrafted rookie guard out of the University of Utah. So we should keep this in mind, okay? As worried as we all are about the offensive line, Tanoa Togiai got reps at right guard for Washington in this joint practice at Baltimore on Wednesday. Look, with the obvious caveat of this was a practice in late August, Washington's offensive line right now is a concern. That is not an overreaction. That, to me, is proper analysis of the situation. Now, the offense beyond the offensive line does seem to be doing pretty well. And with the offensive line, there have been some bright spots. We have heard repeatedly about, left tackle Brandon Coleman doing well, and right tackle Josh Connerly Jr. doing well, and right guard Sam Cosmi doing well. We have heard repeatedly about the great training camp that Jayden Daniels has had. We have heard a good bit about how well the receivers have done. So, I do think there are some good things happening with the offense, but there is concern with the offensive line. I don't know how there isn't at this point, and the concerns with the offensive line are center and, to a lesser extent, left guard. But the center situation seems dire, especially the way some of the people who cover the team were talking on X on Wednesday. And maybe some of these people were being overly dramatic. But, when a bunch of people are all kind of singing the same song, at that point you have to say, well, this probably is the reality, as opposed to, one or two people just, being overly dramatic. And, I think about this center situation, and I am a big fan of our general manager, Adam Peters, but I do wonder, I'm sure that many of you are wondering, did Adam Peters totally whiff in how he handled the center position this past offseason? Releasing Tyler Biadasz, not spending whatever it took to sign Tyler Linderbaum, having all of this faith in Nick Allegretti, making only one significant center acquisition, which was taking Michigan State center/guard Matt Golban in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL Draft, having Julian Good-Jones as an option at center. Are we going to look back on all of this as a giant whiff by Adam Peters this past offseason? I hope not, but we'll see. I do maintain that there is a high likelihood that Washington will acquire a center in the coming days, given that this Sunday, August 30th at 6 p.m. Is the deadline by which each NFL team must have its active roster at no more than 53 players. More at the center position would seem to be coming. More at the center position better be coming. We on Wednesday afternoon had this back and forth between Nicky Jhabvala and Jayden Daniels.
Without knowing, maybe but when Allegretti will come back, how do you kind of stay in the loop with him while also working with Matt and Julian?
I've been with Nick going on 3 years now, so we kind of already have a chemistry. We talk. I'm just telling him to attack his process. At the end of the day, I got to attack my process. He got to attack his. And whenever he comes back, he comes back. If not, it's not going to change my thought process. It's not going to change how I approach each and every day and how to get better. It's not going to change the way that I lead, not only the offense, but the team also.
And I know injuries are just part of the game, but you guys have dealt with a number of them in camp. Does that ever get frustrating, just knowing you're not able to go out there with the guys that you think you would have?
It's part of the game at the end of the day. It's a new team every year. Things gonna happen. We play a contact sport, physical violence sport, so things are gonna happen. You get put in uncompromising situations where your body's not really used to. So things happen at the end of the day.
Hey, whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, a corporate gathering, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, Catering by Uptown. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are terrific Washington Commanders fans, and Catering by Uptown will provide you and your event with excellent service. Catering by Uptown staff on the day of your event is the first to arrive and last to leave, and is fully prepared to offer quality, variety, and abundance, prepared to execute the plan that you and Catering by Uptown created together. Catering by Uptown specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, this episode of the podcast is for Thursday, August 27th. 1 month from today is Sunday, September 27th, the final day of MLB's 2026 regular season. You wonder how much the Washington Nationals are looking forward to that day. And speaking of the number 27, the Nats now are just 7-20 over their last 27 games. A 13-1 loss to the Colorado Rockies at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening in Game 3 of a 4-game series. The Nats in this regular season have gone from 55-53 to 62-73. Run differential now at +6 as the Nats are in danger of having a negative run differential. The Rockies, they in this regular season now are a National League worst 52-81 with a National League worst run differential of -132. The Nats on Wednesday evening got blasted at home by the worst team in the National League. More bad offense for the Nats. The Nats over the last 10 losses have totaled just 16 runs. The Nats on Wednesday evening, just 1 run, just 7 hits, no walks, 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. 4 of the 7 hits were extra base hits as the Nats had a home run, a triple, and 2 doubles. But the Nats struggled against the Rockies starting pitcher Tanner Gordon, who allowed 1 run in 7 innings with 5 strikeouts versus no walks, despite coming into the game with an ERA of 5.75 over 18 games, including 6 starts at the major league level in this regular season. That says so much about the state of the Nats offense that the team got worked by Tanner Gordon. The Nats on Wednesday evening made Tanner Gordon look like a Cy Young Award candidate. C.J. Abrams still is not totally healthy. That has become clear. He was to be the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, but the Nats altered their lineup to where he was their starting DH and number 1 batter. He went 0 for 4 in his 3rd game back from a sprained left ankle as, yes, we still have not seen Abrams play second base since manager Blake Butera during his pregame session with reporters on August 14th announced that the team is moving Abrams from being primarily a shortstop to being primarily a second baseman. 2 offensive bright spots for the Nats were Andres Chaparro and Dylan Cruz. Andres Chaparro was the Nats starting 3rd baseman and number 5 batter. First time that Chaparro started at 3rd base in an MLB regular season game. He went 3 for 4 with a solo homer, a double, and a single. Chaparro in the Nats' 1-run second had a leadoff full-count home run to left field for a 1-0 Nats lead to conclude a 9-pitch plate appearance in which he was down in the count at 1.02. Chaparro in the bottom of the 4th had a 2-out first-pitch single into left field, but he had a 2-out double by Jose Tena on a fly ball that got lost in the sky in center field, was slowly jogging, only advanced to 3rd base. That was bad. That was not good by Andres Chaparro. And Nats manager Blake Butera during his postgame press conference on Wednesday night did rip the team for a lack of effort in this game. That definitely stood out. First time as Nats manager that Blake Butera has questioned the team's effort in a game. But Andres Chaparro overall is producing. He now, at the major league level in this regular season, 154 plate appearances, OPS of 906. And Dylan Cruz, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 3 batter, went 2 for 4 with a triple and a single. Cruz in the bottom of the 1st had a 2-out opposite field triple to the right field corner. The Nats in this 13-1 loss to the Rockies at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening went with a bullpen game. The results, not good. Matt Waldron was the Nats starting pitcher. Now, he did do well. He in his Nats debut tossed 2 scoreless innings, 28 pitches, 21 strikes, just 7 balls, and 12 of the pitches were knuckleballs per StatCast. Now, Matt Waldron is not an all-of-the-time knuckleballer, but he is a, shall we say, part-time knuckleballer. The Nats this past Saturday afternoon announced having claimed Waldron off waivers from the Toronto Blue Jays. But then the problem started. Will Dion, he allowed 4 runs in 2 2/3 innings. Dion, in the top of the 5th, allowed 4 runs as he issued a leadoff walk of Connor Norby, gave up a 2-run homer by Troy Johnston to right field for a 2-1 Rockies lead, gave up a 1-out first pitch bunt single by Jake McCarthy to the right side of the infield on a play in which Dion was late getting to first base, and gave up a 1-out 2-run homer by Cole Carrig to left field for a 4-1 Rockies lead, despite Dion having had Carrig down in the count at 1.12. Luis Perales made his MLB regular season debut. It did not go well. He allowed 4 runs in 2 innings with 3 swinging strikeouts versus 3 walks. He gave up 4 hits, including a 2-out grand slam by Connor Norby to left center field in the top of the 7th for an 8-1 Rockies lead. Perales threw 53 pitches, just 27 strikes versus 26 balls. His stuff is good. He per StatCast had an average four-seam fastball velocity of 99.6 miles per hour over 17 four-seam fastballs, but location can be a problem, and as mentioned, he gave up a grand slam. The Nats on Wednesday afternoon announced having recalled Perales from AAA Rochester. He is the Nats' number 12 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline, but interestingly, the Nats have moved him from being a starting pitcher to being a relief pitcher, at least for now. And it is worth noting how the Nats got this guy. The Nats this past December 15th traded starting pitching prospect Jake Bennett to the Boston Red Sox for Perales. Bennett for the Red Sox at the major league level in this regular season. 15 games, all starts. ERA of 3.49, whip 1.07. The Nats took Bennett in the second round of the 2022 MLB first-year player draft out of the University of Oklahoma, and you gotta wonder if Nats president of baseball operations Paul Taboni wishes that he could undo that trade. But also with Nats pitching on Wednesday evening, Clayton Beeter retired the only batter he faced. Orlando Rebolta officially allowed 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He and the Rockies' 5-run 8th gave up a 1-out 2-run homer by Hunter Goodman to left field for a 10-1 Rockies lead. The homer went a projected 435 feet per StatCast. And then we had a position player pitch for the Nats, third baseman / second baseman Jorbit Bibas. He officially allowed 1 run in 1 into 3rd innings, but he and the Rockies' 5-run 8th allowed 3 inherited runners to score in giving up 2 singles and issuing 2 hit-by pitches. 4th time that Jorbit Bibas has pitched for the Nats in this regular season. Way too much of Jorbit Bibas pitching for the Nats in this regular season. Embarrassing loss for the Nats on Wednesday evening, no doubt. Game 4 for the Nats against the Rockies at Nationals Park Thursday afternoon at 1:05. The Nats have listed Jake Irvin as their probable starting pitcher for the game. Taking care of the people you love, nothing matters more. Get peace of mind with life insurance through Ethos. Ethos helps to provide financial security for your family. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 5,500 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of August 1st, 2026.
If you're like me, you're the kid who savored every last drop of sugary milk at the bottom of your cereal bowl while watching Saturday morning cartoons. Kachava's new flavor, Cinnamon French Toast, gives you a bit of that classic nostalgia. And I love that it's made with real cinnamon bark. It's a comfort flavor, but with benefits and without the sugary drawbacks. There's no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. It's non-GMO, there's no soy, there's no animal products, no gluten, and no preservatives. But Kachava does provide all the nutrition your body craves in one deliciously simple shake with just 2 scoops. So treat yourself to a childhood favorite. Go to Kachava.com and use code SPORTS for 15% off your first order. That's Kachava, Kachava.com with code SPORTS.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
A wild win, but a win for the Baltimore Orioles. An 8-7 win at the St. Louis Cardinals on Wednesday night, despite the O's blowing a 7-0 second-inning lead. Yeah, the O's gacked away a 7-0 second-inning lead, but won this game. The O's now have won 4 of their last 5 games, and in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 65-68 with a run differential of -22 and are 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians for the American League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. The Guardians have won 7 consecutive games. The Cardinals, they now have lost 5 consecutive games, and in this regular season now are 66-68 with a run differential of -15. So the O's on Wednesday evening announced having placed outfielder Tyler O'Neill on the 10-day injured list, retroactive to August 23rd due to right shoulder inflammation. So this 3rd consecutive season of the O's getting hammered by injury continues, but the Orioles offense off the team's 13-1 win at the Cardinals on Tuesday night was very good. The O's on Wednesday night, 8 runs, 13 hits, which were 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 8 singles, 4 walks, 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. 2 of the heroes from Tuesday night, Christian Encarnacion Strand and Pete Alonso, were heroes on Wednesday night. Christian Encarnacion Strand, the man known as CES, he is the Orioles starting third baseman and number 5 batter, went 4 for 5 with an RBI double, another double, an RBI single, and another single. Encarnacion Strand in the Orioles' 1-run ninth had an opposite field RBI double to the right center field gap for an 8-7 Orioles lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. What a find this guy has been. Christian Encarnacion Strand, since the O's on July 16th announced having recalled him from AAA Norfolk off this past April 13th, having acquired him via trade with the Cincinnati Reds for cash considerations and having optioned him to Norfolk. 114 plate appearances, OPS of 820. And Pete Alonso, I mean, how many more bouquets can we throw at this guy? But he is the Orioles starting DH and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer and an intentional walk. Alonso in the Orioles' 2-run second had a one-out opposite field 2-run homer to right field for a 7-0 Orioles lead. Alonso in this regular season now has 32 home runs and an OPS of 881. He, for this month of August now, has an OPS of 1,184. As the O's are fighting for their playoff contending lives, Pete Alonso is playing his best baseball. Also for the O's on Wednesday night, Leody Taveras, he is the Orioles starting right fielder and number 7 batter, 1 for 5 with a 3-run homer. Taveras in the Orioles' 5-run first had a 2-out 3-run homer to right field for a 5-0 Orioles lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The Orioles starting pitcher in this 8-7 win at the Cardinals on Wednesday night was Kyle Bradish. He ended up being bad for a second consecutive outing. Did start off well. He officially allowed 7 runs in 4 into third innings, allowed 1 run in 4 innings, but then in the Cardinals' 6-run fifth was charged with 6 runs. He fell apart in that bottom of the fifth. He, for the outing, gave up 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 6 singles, issued 2 walks, recorded 4 strikeouts, so threw a lot of pitches. Did throw a lot of strikes, but 4 into third innings, 91 pitches, 64 strikes, just 27 balls. But bottom line, 7 runs in 4 into third innings. Not good. And this was off Bradish in the Orioles' 6-1 loss to the New York Yankees at Oriole Park at Camden Yards last Thursday evening, allowing 5 runs, 3 earned in 5 2/3 innings. Kyle Bradish now in this regular season, 26 games, all starts, ERA of 4.03, whip of 1.41. But the Orioles relief pitching in this 8-7 win at the Cardinals on Wednesday night, really good. 5 Orioles relievers combined for 4 2/3 scoreless innings. Alex Hoppe retired the 2 batters he faced, although he did allow an inherited runner to score. Josh Walker retired 2 of the 3 batters he faced. Rico Garcia tossed 1 1/3 scoreless and hitless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. Grant Wolfram tossed a scoreless and hitless bottom of the 8th. And Andrew Kittredge walked the tightrope, but got the save. He tossed a scoreless bottom of the 9th for the save, despite giving up a leadoff single and despite issuing a 1-out walk. And also in that 9th inning, a tremendous defensive play by second baseman Jackson Holliday, a diving catch for a ground out for the 2nd out. Holliday saved a run, but the Orioles bullpen saved the day of Kyle Bradish unraveling, and the O's got the win. Game 3 for the O's at the Cardinals Thursday afternoon at 2:15. The O's have listed Trevor Rogers as their probable starting pitcher for the game. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Friday's show, episode 1398. We'll have much more on the Washington Commanders. Also on Friday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are home to the Colorado Rockies Thursday afternoon at 1:05 for Game 4 of a 4-game series. The O's are at the St. Louis Cardinals Thursday afternoon at 2:15 for Game 3 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
Sorry to DJ again, but you talked about him being depth. Is there any thought that could precipitate a change for Brandon Coleman at all?
No.